So, welcome back, everyone, to Radiant Living, the space where we talk about what it means to live from the inside out and to follow the fire in your heart and to build a life that is bold, beautiful, and truly yours. Today's guest is someone whose life and work have completely redefined what it means to give with purpose and to live with legacy. Rebecca Darwent is a visionary, she's a builder, a truth teller, and she's co-founder of the Foundation for Black Communities. She's a philanthropic strategic, and now she's a young global leader at the World Economic Forum. Rebecca's journey is all about moving resources, power, and love into the hands of people who've always deserved it. I admire her work and just what she's done to really create a space where people, not just disrupting philanthropy, but she's reimagining it. It's rooted in community, it's driven by purpose, and it's lit by deep conviction. So this conversation is for anyone who feels that quiet or loud call to make a difference, anyone dreaming for a fuller and freer life. And if you're wondering if you really have what it takes to change the world, because Rebecca is living proof of that. So let's dive in. Hey, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, I'm going to dive right into the questions. And so let's start with the heart. Um, so you are part of you joined the World Economic Forum as a global leader, and you're navigating really big spaces. So how was that experience and how has it shaped you?
I am really grateful to be in big circles and small circles, high profile circles and everyday circles. And I try to have the same approach no matter what space I'm in. I really want to understand what's possible. And any new doors that I go into, I'm looking at who is kind of in my circle who would benefit for being in that space as well. And so I was actually nominated into the World Economic Forum Young Global Leader Program. There's something really powerful about being nominated. It means that somebody else has seen your work and potential and is putting you forward. And I have been really grateful to have those nominations open up that world for me. And so I often think about, how can I contribute into this space and like be a fresh perspective and a fresh voice. And the amazing thing about the Young Global Leaders program in particular is that the nomination process cultivates a space of empathy, cultivates a space of curiosity and collaboration. So it's on a global stage. It's a very big platform, but the people in that community are amazing and absolutely heart-centered.
Yeah. I looked up your graduating class, and there are people from all over the world, which was, I think, what a great opportunity to literally get people from all over the world, coming into that space and learning and putting your minds together. So how was that?
It's phenomenal. I have made some really deep friendships, and we all stumbled into the opening
Yeah.
summit, and we're all curious and not super sure of what to expect. And then it was just really like young, amazing people doing incredible work in their countries. And we kind of leave our titles or our organizations at the door and come in as full people. And so I have, friends as far as not even as far as Australia, from here, Mauritius, Botswana, across Mexico, like everybody, and then even kind of in Canada, there's a small but mighty contingent of Canadian
Right.
YGLs, and so
Yeah.
it's pretty special to be part of that group.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know about the World Economic Forum and the Young Global Leader Program, Justin Trudeau is a graduate of that program, and as well as one of my favorite people, actually, she was Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. She's also a graduate of the program. And so, and there's lots of, yeah, people seem to come from that program and enter into very significant positions around the world in whatever organization, whether it's leading a country or leading an investment bank or pioneering a new way of doing things. So yeah, so well done for getting into that space and a great response with regards to being authentic in small and big spaces. So yeah. So let's talk about the heart. When did you first feel that deep, like this is it moment where you feel like you're stepping into a purpose, like something that you are actually born to do that feels very authentic to you?
So my parents were immigration lawyers. My mom continues the practice to this day, and they had an ethos that it was a small family business, and they ran it themselves, not a big firm or a big law office. It was really a family-based practice, and they always invited my sister and I to have an opinion. And they would often be talking back and forth about their cases at the dinner table, or they'd take us to places of worship with their clients when we got invited to dinners or to a cultural association event. My parents were very proactive in saying like this is the totality of the world is represented in their cases. Um, and my parents really asked, you know, like, what do you think about this? And like some of their clients were coming from war-torn countries or fleeing political persecution. And I'm talking like I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old hearing these stories, and my parents took my opinion seriously. Like if I had a thought about their case or a different perspective, they never dismissed me and they gave me a voice as a child. So from a very young age, I had a sense of justice and social justice and what it means to really be like have an opinion and have the facts to back it up. My parents would be like, okay, that's your opinion. Where's your research? What do you, you know, where's the case law that supports it in a kind of a joking but not joking way? And so I was exposed to a lot very young. And what I soon realized was as soon as I understood that law was a profession, shortly thereafter, I was exposed to social work. And I realized that the thing that I liked about my parents' practice is that they were connecting people to resources. They were bringing, you know, opportunity by virtue of helping people become Canadian citizens and go through that process. And so I knew that I didn't want to do the legal paperwork side of things, but that I did want to work with people. So I'm one of the rare folks that like the moment that I understood the profession, I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And I was quite young, like 11, 12 years old.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And that's actually a really great testament to your parents too for cultivating that and creating an atmosphere in your home where you could dream big, where you could think, a little bit different and they didn't, underestimate what was inside of you. That's a really incredible story. Yeah. And now you have helped shift, power and money into the hands of communities that have always deserved more. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what what do you do exactly, and what fuels the fire to keep going, especially when the work is heavy?
So I work in the kind of formal field of philanthropy, and that means that I work with individuals who have wealth, more wealth than they need, and they're prepared to give it away, as well as foundations that are made to kind of institutionalize the giving. And all of the clients that I work with are driven to see better social outcomes and a cooler planet, let's say. But for many, many years, communities have been explicitly left out of the philanthropic sector. And oftentimes people are seen through the light and the lens of charity. And I think that the charity model puts some people in like the hero making space. They get to put on their cape and like give some money and save the day. And then the folks who are receiving the money are seen as needy, not worthy, or somehow that they need to be indebted to this hero who's come in to save them. And I know deep, deep in my heart that that is absolutely not true. We have genius and dreams and ideas that need funding.
Yeah.
And the lack of funding is the problem. It's not the lack of ideas or foresight or capability. It's really access to funding, access to power, access to decision making. And so I saw as somebody who was a frontline social worker and then moved into the field of philanthropy as a grant maker, I saw the power structures that were not getting the really important work funded. Like there was a systemic issue in that space. And so I have dedicated my career to really breaking down those systemic barriers, and allowing more funding to flow. So I think it's important that the new ideas get funded, because we're in a space where if the same ideas get like funded, we're not going to get the impact that we hope to achieve.
Yeah. That's incredible that you did that. And your work led you to get a $200 million grant, right, from the government of Canada, which is incredible. And that's how the FFBC was formed.
Yeah.
As some of our listeners may not know what the FFBC is, can you talk a little bit more about that and that process? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the Foundation for Black Communities started in 2020, and we have all of the co-founders were involved in philanthropy in one way, whether we were grant makers like myself or nonprofit executive directors. And so we kind of saw two sides of the same coin. On the grant making side, we were seeing Black-led organizations not receiving funding, and the executive directors were like, we're putting out application after application after application, but we're just not getting and sufficient funds, if funds at all.
Right.
And so we decided to build an entirely new table. And so we, through a grassroots mobilization, we kind of put forward the research and a call to action to say that we need a community foundation that's not based in location, but based on identity. And, Black communities in Canada are overrepresented in some spaces and significantly underrepresented in others. And at the time, we're grossly underrepresented in the philanthropic sector. People weren't getting the titles that they deserved or the promotions that they deserved, and that their lived experience and professional experience would say that they have the ability to be at those decision-making tables. So we decided to create our own table, and really built partnerships around the idea that Black communities had been excluded from philanthropy and government priorities for so long that
Right.
it was time to reset that in motion. And I'm really proud to say, as of right now, we have granted out close to, it's over $25 million has gone out to Black communities. And that's
Incredible.
money that has never been available
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So we like to call ourselves a home for Black communities within the
Yeah.
philanthropic sector. That you might get denied from a lot of organizations, but there's always going to be one place
One
that if
place.
you have an idea,
Hmm.
and you're a social entrepreneur, you can go to the Foundation for Black Communities and know that we have cultural competency and we understand kind of the Black experience, and we're not going to use the Black experience against the idea.
So important.
Instead, we're going to use it to inform, and our communities are making the decisions about where the granting goes. So we have a completely different model that pulls from Afrocentric principles to
Yeah.
get that work done.
That is so important. I love what you said there, just about keeping the space, knowing that, this is pioneering something new for Black communities. When I watched a TED Talk, you talked a lot about Ubuntu, which some people may not be aware of. And I just thought it was so beautiful how you talked about that, especially with regards to your heritage from Guyana. Can you shed a little bit more light on that? Yeah.
So I think was on a call recently with a dear colleague, and we were talking about these collective giving practices.
Yeah.
And you have tandas in Mexico and tongtin in Cambodia, and like Seoul in Haiti. And I use these examples in my TED Talk. But ultimately, these practices are as old as like people on the planet. We have been working together to fund things and like putting in a little bit of dollar here, a little bit of dollars there. And so box hand is a practice that we use in Guyana, where each person will contribute some dollars into a communal pot. And then that person that week will get to decide where they're going to put their money. And I was like leading on the family box hand, like you have the banker, or like there's different like ways of talking about the person who collects the money and then redistributes the money within these small circles. But it's really powerful. Like it's the ability to say, like, I'm going to rely on you. I'm going to trust that you're going to put money into the pot, and I'm going to put money into the pot. And so we have shared accountability. And you kind of, in box hand, it's not, you don't have to tell people what you're saving for, but sometimes it comes up. And then you also have that like slight community pressure to be like, you were saving for your tuition, like how's school
Right.
going?
Yeah.
Or, I heard you had to use your hand for funeral expenses. I'm really sorry to hear that you lost your loved one. And so sometimes these circles are within one family, or sometimes they're in like a broader community. And it just speaks to the fact that it's possible. Like we're so excluded from traditional banking systems. We're very excluded from getting loans for homes. Systemic racism exists everywhere,
That's right.
and our communities have found creative ways of sharing and building capital. Yeah, so I think it's just important to recognize that, especially in this moment in time, where a lot of communities are under attack globally, that we've survived worse, and we've survived worse together. It's that communal aspect that is really important. No one person, no one foundation, no one nonprofit organization is going to save us from this. Like we have to work together, and it gives us a way of practicing that.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. And that leads up to our next question, because you said philanthropy should be love in action. And this hits home for me because as obviously as the founder of Freedom Tree, I'm constantly in a place where I'm raising money. And it can be hard. Like I think what you said at the beginning of this interview, like it can be really hard when you're actually approaching people and you're approaching people for it seems like maybe the same people over and over again, but then there's pockets of others who are ready to give, they're just not able to connect. And so philanthropy should be love in action. So what does that look like on a day-to-day basis for you personally in the way that you move through the world?
I think the action part is really important. Right now, we find ourselves in a space of um, not being sure what to do next, or being bombarded with the news or bombarded with messages on social media. And I think the love part is knowing that we survive in community. So it's totally part of our nature to be in proximity and close to other people. And so just kind of remembering that, it's kind of a call to remember what you already know and what you've been taught. And then the action piece is what's beautiful, is that the dollar amount doesn't always matter, to be honest. Like sometimes it's about the money that you can fundraise or the money that you can give, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's about, hey, I know this person and I can get you access to that room that you've been excluded from. Or I give you my personal endorsement. Like I like the nomination, the person who nominated me into this program, she's saying like, I believe in you and I want to see you succeed. Welcome. And that endorsement is what helped me get into that space. So I really encourage people to think as expansively as possible of what that love in action really looks like, and then not to be too caught up in making a mistake. You can ask questions and you can be in partnership and you can say like, hey, I don't really know everything that there is to know about this. I'm humbly coming to you to ask what can I do to contribute, and then see where it
Let's
goes.
see where it goes. That's awesome. That's awesome. Why do you think there's a block to some people giving? Like, why do you think there's a mismatch, or, we're not able to access those pockets of funds that are out there?
Oftentimes it's a lack of relationship.
Okay.
And so people are hesitant. They're like, oh, I don't actually know this person or I don't know this thing. And I can tell you, I've lived in different cities around the world. And my parents, like I said, not only did they run an immigration practice, but they were both immigrants themselves to Canada. So they didn't know anybody either. And so what I've really taken to heart in my professional development is there's this adage like, you need to know people, you need to like be in the know to like get ahead. Um, and that's absolutely true. So my call to action is like get to know new people. Be the first person to take that step. Be the one to send an email, and nourish those relationships before you ask for the grant or before
That's a
you
good
ask for
point.
dollars.
Yeah.
Um, and go from a relational standpoint as opposed to a transactional standpoint.
Right. That's a good point. That's a really good point. Okay.
It's possible. I think the
Yeah.
main thing is like you can build, like we can all have new networks. We can all build new relationships, and
Yeah.
bridge building is a big part of what I
Is
do.
I think that's a huge, yeah, that's a huge part of it because I know, especially for, Black communities or marginalized communities, they can be in their own world where they don't have those networks that they're connected to in order to get the resources that is needed to fund these great ideas and things that they need to do. And so just having that one connector, that person to bridge the gap, I know that I've experienced that, sometimes with Freedom Tree, just having one person introduce me to the right person makes the whole, makes all the difference. So, yeah.
And I often tell people, like doors have been closed, like slammed in my face, figuratively of like, you're
Wow.
not welcome here, like we're
Yeah.
not interested. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna just keep going. Like,
Yeah.
don't let anybody's no's discourage you from pursuing what you believe is important for yourself and for your community. Just
Right.
find the right yes.
Right. Right. That's really good. That's really good. So, which leads me to my last question. If somebody feels disconnected from their purpose or unsure how to live their dream, what is one thing that you would tell them to do today to start coming back to themselves?
So I think Oprah talks a little bit about this, about like the whispers of the universe. And then sometimes you are avoiding the whispers and then like you'll get a brick. And so I just I encourage you to listen to the whispers, um and it's okay. I remember when I was younger and involved in different community initiatives, and I was an active like young leader at my high school and student council president, things like that. And I was always looking for like the idea. And I was like,
Hmm.
I don't have the idea as yet. I don't know what like, and what I've come to terms with and what I now realize is that you don't have to be the person who comes up with a big idea. There are many people and many ways in. So even Foundation for Black Communities, it's an important, incredible idea that probably lots of people have thought about. But I was invited in to make something happen, right? And I was willing to build and I was ready to build. And so for anybody who's listening to this, I would just encourage them to continue to listen to podcasts like this one, continue to develop the skills that you're going to need to deploy that big idea or to support somebody else on their big idea. And just know that you don't have to put that much pressure on yourself. It'll come when you're ready. And then like listen to the whispers and lean in
That's a good one.
so
Sometimes
that you're ready. Yeah.
yeah, like a lot of times our passion don't come from the big loud noises, it's the whispers. And I think, what we're fighting against in our society is stilling ourselves and quieting ourselves enough and the noise around us that we can actually hear the whispers.
Yes.
So that's a really good one.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining us today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us with your presence. And I wish you the best of luck in everything that you're doing. And for those of you who want to find out a little bit more about Rebecca, Rebecca, can you just let them know about your website and how they can reach out to you? Yeah.
So you can find me on my website at rebeccadarwent.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me there. I share a lot of resources and thought leadership on that platform.
And I would also encourage all of our listeners to listen to Rebecca's TED Talk. It was beautiful and very well said, very well done, very well done. So it was just so powerful. So it's the link is on her website as well, rebeccadarwent.com. And so listen to her TED Talk. Okay. Thank you. Till next time.